A very good evening to all of you. First of all, let me welcome you all to Edureka. So today we have a webinar and it's a 1 hour of webinar. So today the topics that we are going to discuss are going to be a little bit advanced. So I'm expecting that you guys already have a few information like what exactly the automation is, what exactly we are going to, what exactly you have been doing in the automation so far. So I just want you guys to be interactive so that you can share your knowledge. And here we have an audience of 40 to 50 people. So I'll be giving you the logical breaks in between. Then it will be like uh, so that we'll complete few parts and then you can ask your queries and then we'll resume back to where we are and then we'll end up with the demo. Okay, so let's start with the session. So let me first introduce myself. So Shobit, I'm working here as a trainer in Edureka and having a rich experience in automation. So basically, like so far we have been doing automation, like even Selenium is there. There are many automation tools are there in the market, but thing is that how we can enhance the tool, what all the how we should exactly design the framework so that we don't have to write the same code again and again. Means reusability should be more rather than writing everything from scratch. Okay, and this is one point that I'll be discussing today. One of the framework that we'll be discussing today is the page object model. Second important point that I'm going to discuss today is how exactly you can interact with the web elements in a better way. So when I say better way, so there are many tricks that we'll be discussing today, one after the other, so that uh, you will come to know like how exactly those tricks can be applied in the framework and in your when you write a simple plain code as well. Okay, and how to handle Ajax based applications. When I say Ajax based applications means it's a dynamic applications. Okay, so without your page is already loaded and few part of the things are getting changed, so without reloading your page or without launching a new tab or a new application, you can identify your objects, or even you can wait for your object to come for a specific period of time. Okay, and then in the end we'll see how we can write a generic code. See, locating web elements is a key factor for any automation tool. You you should know, like, if you want to go to someone's house, you should know where exactly that person is staying, in which locality, what is his address, in which city, in which country. At least something or the other you should know. But you can't go with an idea. You have to be very specific when it comes to address of any person or any web element. So when we talk about any person and when we compare with any web part, it comes to as a web element. So when I say that you need to go to some specific web element, that means you have, in this field, you need to give some unique ID or a unique address. Fine. So it can be in form of a ID, it can be form of a name, it can be form of a CSS selector, it can be form of an XPath. So these are the different ways which can help you to reach to your web element. Fine. So you are not restricted only by these four. You can have as many number of attributes or the addresses you can add, and you can provide its value and you can proceed. So we'll see, like, we'll launch a web application and we'll see when I say that, hey driver, you go and find this element by this ID, you need to pass the ID. It will automatically go and find it. Even if it is finding a multiple values, multiple web elements with the same ID, you can just pass the index and specific, like saying that no, I don't want to take the first value, I want to take the second value. So you can easily adjust the values and easily interact with it. Fine. Same goes with XPath, name and CSS selector. So these are the multiple ways to interact with the web elements. Kavita says at times getting difficult to find element. Yeah, so that's what we are going to discuss today. So I'm already expecting that these most of the things you guys already know about it. So we'll just talk about those things which which means the better ways to interact with the web elements. Fine, Kavita. Uh, as in the URL, we have address and address one. Yes, you can easily interact with radio buttons and checkboxes as well. Fine. So you have so many list means we have so many options. So which one you should go with? Like in what scenario you should go with ID? In which what all the possible cases in which you should go with XPath? When you should go with name? And when you should go with CSS? Still, after having these many approaches, we are always confused like which one to take, right? So before I go proceed with the PPT, let me show you a few examples. And if you guys have any questions, you can ping me in the chat window. So I'll launch Facebook here. And how many of you all know about Object Inspector? Can I get a quick confirmation in the chat window? Yes, fine. So not all. So basically, Object Inspector, these are the developer tools which you will get it in almost all the browsers by default. So it's not that it is very much specific to Selenium. It's like for your other just to understand how exactly your application is designed, what all the CSS has been used to give look and feel, you can easily get into the source code of it. So if you directly go to the source code of your application, it's very difficult to understand what is going around. But with the help of the object inspector, if you try to understand your application, it becomes very easy. And you can easily get the unique attributes of the web elements of your application. So if I'll take this text box as an example and I want to know what all the attributes I have for this so that I can interact with this web element. So if you'll right click in your browser, you'll get an option inspect element. Here I have a plugin called Firebug, that is also one of the plugin comes with Firefox. So I'll use this because it gives better view and clarity for the attributes. So here you can see it has automatically redirected it to me to the specific attribute and the specific location of this web element. So how I'll how I'll decide which attribute I have to go with. So when I say attribute, this is an attribute and its value. This is an attribute, this is a value. So all these attributes and value, if I'll combine together, will define this text box. But should I go with type? Should I go with tab index? No. We need to go with some list of attributes like ID, name, XPath, CSS. Even if it is a text, you should go with link. So if I'll take this as an attribute and try to put it in my, let me show you the PPT. This was the slide we were discussing, right? So here I have an ID. Fine. So what you need to do, first you need to launch the driver. We'll see how to do that. And then we'll say, hey, driver, you find this element by this attribute. So it can be anything. Okay. So it will come from the API itself. So whatever list of options Selenium driver provides, we'll see all the options. And then corresponding to that attribute, we'll pass the value. In case the web element doesn't have that attribute, we won't pass the value. Means we won't go with that option. Make sense? Kavita, object like QTP in Selenium Snark. Okay, yeah, fine, fine. So there are many plugins will come, but it's always good to go with the default object inspector. Means you can call it as object inspector, object spine, QTP, object inspector in IBM RFT. There are many. Every automation tool has a object inspector, its own object inspector, and you have to depend on those properties which it will show in its window. Okay, so we won't go with those object inspector because it is very specific to the applications. Okay, Kavita? Fine, so let me go back to the application. So this was one of the use case where we can easily get the ID properties, or I can go with the name property. So why can't I go with the class property? This is also an attribute. The reason why, because see, it comes with the experience. So class generally it won't always give you the unique attribute, but if you try to combine these two together, it might give you a unique attribute. Okay, so if I'll see in this complete source code, let me maximize this window. There will be many class with this attribute. Okay, like input text. If I'll try to find the property for password, here also you can see input text. It's not unique. It will definitely somewhere or the other will get repeated. So generally you should not go with class attribute. Most of the time you can go with ID, name, XPath, CSS, link text. Okay, so let me show you this list first. So here I have a simple class. Give me a second. Yeah. So to launch a driver, what we'll be doing, like we'll call this class called WebDriver. Okay. So this is a class which is coming from the Selenium package, org.selenium WebDriver. Fine. Then we'll tell whether I want to go with Firefox, I want to go with Safari, uh, Chrome, any browser. So if I'll try to put Internet Explorer driver, even I can go with this. Okay, or if you want to go with Chrome, you can go with Chrome driver. Okay, like that way you will get all the options for each of the browsers. Okay, but for Chrome, except Firefox, for other browsers you need to download the uh, IE driver. For IE you need to download the IE driver. For Chrome you need to download the Chrome driver, because Google or Microsoft or Fire means Safari for Apple, those people will provide you the driver, so you can download it from the Selenium official website. So we'll go with Firefox, as we don't need any driver for this. So for Firefox you don't need it. By default Selenium provides support for this. Okay, then you need to say, hey, I got the driver, I have the driver in my hand. Now what should I do with this? You can say, you can go to this URL. Okay, you can to launch any application, and then if you want to maximize your window, you can do it easily just by saying driver.manage the window maximize, so it will maximize the window. Fine. So these three lines, let me execute it, and so that I just gave you the explanation, right? So let me run this code and we'll see how exactly it's working. Okay, we'll discuss these steps as well. So you can see it has launched the driver, right? It is launching the driver. Now application. Now it will maximize the window, and that's it. So remaining things we'll see. Let it complete. Fine. So this is clear to everyone. Others says please throw some suggestions on locating dynamic web element once you've done the current explanation. Fine. So when it comes to dynamic web element, we'll talk with XPath. Fine, Adarsh. So let me share his question with everyone. So this was one of the use case. Now next comes how actually we were interacting. Fine. So once I have a driver with me, so I'll just say I need to find the element by what? Here you will find the list of elements. Okay, so you can find with class name, you can find with CSS, ID, link text, and in the side you can see the explanation as well. Name, or it can be a partial text or a tag name or an XPath. Okay, so Adarsh, as you were saying, like you need to handle the dynamic scenarios of a web element, you can easily handle with XPath. Fine, we'll see how to do that. Okay, now next comes like once you'll find the element. See, this is clear to everyone. Can I get a quick confirmation? Yes. Yep. I'll share the code, don't worry. Okay, but as far as the explanation is concerned, if you guys have any doubt, please let me know. Then you have an element object with you. Now what all the things you can do? Right now this code doesn't know that whether you want to enter a text, whether you want to click, or you want to select a value from a drop down. So it's you who need to tell. So you will say I want to send keys with this value to this location. So if you just tell this the Selenium that I have an ID, or the value of that attribute is email, it won't understand. Then you will say you need to find with this value and then you need to perform some action. Okay, so right now I'm talking in terms of the code. We'll see in terms of framework as well. The same thing applies here also. And if you want to select any value from a drop down, like here we saw the demo that it launched the application and then it entered some value here and then it was selecting a value from a drop down. Then how actually it was selecting a value from a drop down? So what all the things you need to tell? You need to tell that exact address of this web element. Then you need to tell I want to select and what value you want to select. So it is case sensitive. You need to tell exactly the same value which comes here. So I'll say I'll find with this ID. I'll get the reference of it and then I'll say I want to select some value from this reference, and whatever value you want to select, you can say select by visible text. Okay, so this is just a simple one example. Okay, let me run this once again. Fine. And what all the attributes I gave, I just found it from the, means I just took from this object inspector. Okay, so let me close this and let's get back to the PPT and see what next we have. Now next, what, see, this is clear, right? How to find a web element. Now next comes the synchronization. Others, you were talking about dynamic elements. There are many cases where you need to wait for the element to come. Like you have three pages, page A, page B, page C. You're navigating from page A to page B, and once your page gets loaded, then you will try to interact with the web elements. Correct? Sonal, Shrikant. So how the tool will know that the page has loaded and then it has to perform the action, because it will just perform the action whatever it has been told. So there can be a chance that you have navigated from one page to other page, and in between the page is loading, the tool is still performing the action, it won't find it. How many of you have come across this scenario? Larry, Adarsh? I can see only few people are asking the questions. Correct, right? Yes, because what happens, and it's not only that, even there are cases like even if your page is loaded, okay, but you have safely landed to the next page, but the elements in that page is taking time to load, or some backend validations are running, and or in the backend some JavaScript is running which is taking some time to load the data from the DB. So there are cases that it won't load it at the same time. You need to handle that scenario. So that we can easily handle with implicit wait and explicit wait. And do we use thread.sleep? No. So thread.sleep in code is like a bug because you are forcefully saying that you wait for this much of time. And if you go with this option thread.sleep, it is when you say thread.sleep for 10 seconds, every time it will wait for 10 seconds. But if you want to wait for an object to come, and if you use thread.sleep, every time it will wait for 10 seconds. But when you go with implicit and explicit wait, even if your object gets loaded in seconds or milliseconds, it will proceed. Fine. Am I loud and clear? Yeah, perfect. So let's see these three scenarios. So the example which I gave you just a few minutes back, here I have used thread.sleep. The reason why, because the Selenium performance in comparison to any automation tool is very fast. Okay. The second reason is it will just launch its own WebDriver. It has nothing to do with any other browser which is already running. So it is completely independent of it. So once it reaches here, it will just close the browser and it will come out. So just to make you guys aware that what is going around, I have put this thread.sleep purposefully. But during execution, I have not used it. Okay. This was a scenario, but you don't have to use it. Next comes the implicit wait. So this is how we need to give. So whenever you are launching your application, whenever you're launching your driver, okay, that time you need to tell that driver.manage.timeout, that it will timeout for the page to load in 30 seconds, or you can decide the time. It can be in days, it can be in hour, microseconds, milliseconds, minutes, nanoseconds. So it's better to go with seconds. Okay, generally your page won't take uh, means it will easily load within 30 seconds. Okay, so it won't take more than 30 seconds. But in case if you feel like you are working on a very heavy application and it is very slow, then you can go with, maybe you can increase the seconds or you can go with a minute. So when I say minutes, it will wait for 60 seconds, or if I can even write it in this way. So now you guys will be thinking like, I have just defined it once, but I need to interact with thousands of web elements. So how it will be applicable to all? So this is a unique feature of Selenium. Like once you define this feature, it gets set at the system level or at the API level. Okay. Now, when you are launching a driver, that time itself you are saying that for page to load and for the web element to find, I just want it for 60 seconds and I'll only proceed when I'll find the element. Okay. So this works for both the scenarios. Scenario one, it will wait, means automatically, actually Selenium handles the page load part. You can see it in the previous example I didn't give, okay, any implicit wait. But here I have specifically given, so this will play a major role when your page is taking lots of time to load, and even if it is loaded, the web elements are not loaded properly, it is not able to find, so it won't directly come out. It will just wait for a few seconds, and then even if it gets loaded in milliseconds or few seconds, it will just interact with it and proceed. Fine. Adarsh has given a scenario. Let me read it out. There are some situations where you may have to do same actions multiple times and you did not put a wait for at least 2 seconds in between each action. Your browser may get stuck due to fast execution. Even though I applied explicit wait here, I have put a thread for 2 seconds. No, it's not required. You should never put uh, let me share this question with everyone. Fine. So there are situations where you may have to do same actions multiple times. So others, it doesn't matter. So that's what the concept of handling dynamic scenarios are, you don't have, even if your application is not loading, means page is not loading, but your content, few part of your page is getting loaded or getting refreshed. So if even if you have declared this implicit wait, then the very next action when you will perform, like you have performed some click and internally your page is loading, the very next action which you're about to perform will not fail, it will wait for this element to come properly. Okay, we'll discuss more on this. So that's how you can actually declare it once and you don't have to uh, handle it, means you don't have to wait for it to come again and again. Okay, let me go back to the PPT. So this is what happens, like you have your browser, okay, and you send some HTTP request, means anyways, this is what happens whenever you launch a browser, you perform some action, an event gets raised through HTTP protocol and it will hit any web server. Then web server will get some data from its end and it will reply you back. So during this process, there is a possibility that there will be some delay in the object visibility or maybe some object to become visible. So to handle this scenario and to handle these situations, we can easily, by just giving this line, you can easily handle it. And there are cases where you need to specifically, let's assume that I just gave 60 seconds, but there are cases where you need to handle the specific web element. You need to wait for a specific web element. Then you can give explicit wait. Let me show you in the, here you will get a proper explanation. One second. So here you will can easily see what it is trying to do. It has launched a WebDriver. Okay, that's very easy. Then it has launched an application. Once it has launched the application, this is a scenario what I'm talking about. Like I want to wait for this element to become visible and then only I want to proceed. So I'm saying that my expected condition is that when this element becomes visible, which element, just presence of element, which element, this element with this attribute and value become visible. Until it becomes visible, you don't proceed. So even if it becomes visible in milliseconds, few seconds, it will proceed. It won't wait for this much time, and this is in seconds. So what is happening, there is a WebDriver wait class which you can call it and tell him that this is the driver and this is this much of second I need to wait only for this element, because there is a case that even if you have given 60 seconds, but there are few exceptional cases where this even the 60-second will also fail. But generally in ideal scenario, if you are the tester, you are testing the application, you have designed it and you are creating the automation test cases, you will be very well knowing about the behavior of your application. So you know this is the maximum, let's give it 100 seconds. It never goes beyond 100. Okay, but I can't keep changing this value. I just want to give it once. That's it. Every time if I'm keep changing the value, then there is no point of having an automation, right? Just declare this, and to handle few exceptional cases where this, like this PPT was saying, okay, like you hit the web server and it's taking 2 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. So you know that maximum it takes 4 to 5 minutes, but the value will come. Let's fix, let the development team fix this issue. By that time you should not, mean because of this you should not, means your flow should not break, right? So to handle those scenarios you can give explicit wait for those web elements. So here you can increase the value to 10, 20, 30, 40. This is generally in seconds. Okay, so if I'll write this value here, one second, even I can write this code here also. So when I'm declaring this WebDriver wait, I need to tell which driver I'm talking about, and this API is very meaningful. That's the reason, like, every day by day the Selenium API is getting enhanced. While using the API, it will tell you lots of information. So you yourself can see it's saying that you need to enter the value in seconds. So I'll say it will take some 300 milliseconds, and I'll say that wait dot until my expected condition. So you can explicitly handle the exceptional cases. Okay, when I say explicitly means because you're writing it separately, right? And these are the exceptional cases we are talking about, not the ideal case generally what happens. So you want to let's take again a very good example. Uh, Generally in few of the applications you have seen, like, you have selected a country, then you have selected some state, but the next drop down, it comes like the next drop down what you have is city, but it's taking time to load the elements of that drop down. Then how to handle that? Because most because your all the three drop downs are visible: country, state, city, all are visible. So Selenium will understand that, okay, it is visible, that means object is there. So you selected the country, you selected the state, but now you want to select the city. Then how because when you will click on the city, it's taking time to load. Every time whenever you click, it's taking time to load. So how you will handle these exceptional cases? So you can say element to be selected when it becomes visible in that box, because it takes time and you never know how much time it's going to take. So this is just one of the use case I've talked about. There are cases like element to be clickable. Okay, like you might have seen when you scroll down, like when you install any application or there is an agreement on a web application, unless and until you scroll down, your agree button won't become clickable unless and until you complete scroll down the agreement. So once you scroll down the all the lines you have scrolled down of that agreement, then your agree button or I agree button or checkbox, something whatever it is, will become clickable. Then only you can proceed. You can presence of all elements, presence of element, text to be present in element. Okay, so there is a case like you have navigated to some page and the text box is not having the data what you're expecting, it's taking time to load. Then even you can wait. Even if you have loaded a page, the page is not loaded properly. So once the title gets completely loaded, because you have navigated to page B and you want to verify the title, but the title itself takes time. So you need to explicitly wait for it to come. So right now, I'm not talking about an ideal cases. These are the exceptional cases. That's the reason we have uh, explicit wait for these scenarios. Okay. So element to be clickable, and here I can give by ID, and I can say day. Okay. Let me come back to the question because this is the second topic for today. So first was how to interact and what all the options we have. Second one is the implicit wait and how you can, in what scenarios you need to use it. So mostly like 99% you can go with implicit wait. By default, Selenium will handle it. In case the page is loaded and the web elements are not coming properly, implicit wait will take care of it. You don't have to worry. And there are cases where you're navigating between the pages and this thing is happening, like the web server is not uh, returning the value and there is no time limit, sometime 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, then don't go with the explicit wait. The reason why I'm saying don't go with the implicit wait, don't go with the implicit wait, because if you say that 5 minute, and let's assume that your property was actually not there on the application, so it will, without any reason, it will wait for 5 minutes. Okay, so you can handle the situation with implicit wait, but thing is that the more time limit you will give, there are cases and possibilities that you are testing the negative scenario or you are testing running a script, and some web element was not there. So without any reason, your script which could have completed in less than a minute will take 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So to handle those scenarios, it's better to go with explicit wait. Fine. Yeah. Anyone is having any question? Kavita, reusability we need to do now. Yes, I'll tell you what is page object. For captcha, do we need to use regular expression? No, I have there is an image recognition automation tool that is like which works on images pixel by pixel, that is securely. Even with that also you can't do it. So that's the only uh, image recognition tool you have today, which was supposed to work with captcha, but now it's impossible. Even you can take a screenshot of it and try to do it and extract the value. It's not possible, Kavita. Pradeep says, can you tell me the difference between implicit and explicit wait with example? Yeah, you can. One second. So whatever applications we have, so all are working fine. One second. So this was a use case I was saying for implicit wait. Okay, let's assume I'm launching this application, this page, and I'll give you an example. So let me comment this out. Facebook. Okay. Let me copy this and put it here. I'll give the name implicit. I want each one of you to be active. Okay. And once I'll complete this, then you can clear your queries. So I'll say implicit. That's it. And one more, I'll just create a copy of this also. I'll call it as explicit. Okay. Let's start with implicit. So let me delete these lines. So here I need to define the property because I can't go with each property and say, hey, for you I want to set an implicit, for you I want to set an implicit. No, when you're driving, when you're launching the driver, that time itself you need to say driver dot manage dot timeout dot page load timeout. Okay, so here it will say you need to tell the time. So I'll say I'm not taking to I'll just give 20 seconds. Okay, because we need to wait for 20, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then I'll say timeout, time unit. I want it to be in seconds. Okay. Now I'm finding an element, email. I'm entering the value, but for this password, I'll give underscore one. That's the wrong value I'm giving. Okay. Let's assume that I gave a wrong value. Then I'll check. Will like if the I gave a wrong property, is implicit timeout is coming into picture or not, or is it playing its role or not? Fine. Then we'll enter a day and then I'll give a wrong value for this. Then once it will reach here, then again we'll see, is it waiting for 20 seconds or not to come? Because when you give a wrong property or if it is not visible, it will wait for 20 seconds and then only it will report that the object is not visible or it is not finding the element. So one second, actually it will throw an error here. So we need to put it in a try catch block. Let's put it in a try catch block. We can enhance it. Even if the error is coming, we can keep continuing. But to understand this point, let's go with some simple scenario. I'll just print the error message. Fine, Pradeep. Okay, I'll come back to the questions. This is fine. I'll clear your queries, okay, one by one I'm going. So Pradeep, this is okay? Fine. So let me run this code. So it has launched the WebDriver. Now it will launch the application. It will maximize the window and set the implicit weight. One second. Username pass value. Okay. So directly I was trying to perform an action on an element which is already not there. So first it's better you take it in an element and then say send keys. It's coming out, one second. So let me check the logs. Okay, it's not page load timeout. It should be implicit weight. Okay, you need to say 30 and then it comes seconds. Yeah, that was specifically for page loading. Okay, we'll talk about that. It should be implicit weight. So it has entered the value. Now it is trying to find the web element. So it can be a scenario that the page is uh, means the element is taking time to become visible, or whatever it can be a scenario, or your page is loading. So it will wait for 20 seconds and then only it will come out. Fine. And same way, if I'll try to explain you this explicit weight. So here I don't need any implicit weight. We'll just go with this scenario and I won't give 30 seconds. Let me give you, let's give only 10 seconds and I'll remove these cases. Okay. So we'll see if I'll be able to interact with this, and then when it will come to this line, it will try to analyze this element and it will proceed only when this element becomes visible. So first, let's go with an ideal case. Let's assume it's there. So I'll run. Let's assume everything is fine. I've given. So it has entered both the values. It has validated this, and I've given some thread.sleep. So now this time, let me comment this out so that we can see actually this weight was working or this weight was working. Okay, so it is launched, it will maximize the window, it has entered the value, that's it. Okay, what if the value is wrong? Okay, will I be able, or value is wrong, I'm waiting for a scenario, whatever way you want to interpret it, let me run this. So will this part of the code will be effective when the tool is not able, the code what you have written or the tool is not able to find the element. So before I enter a password, I have given a condition that you enter the, means first you wait for something to come visible and then you proceed. So here you can see in this error window, it specifically says that timeout exception has come. Timeout after 10 seconds waiting for element to become clickable. Because I was expecting it to come but it was not there. Make sense? Now can you guys put your questions in the chat window, because that's what we have for the implicit and explicit wait. So Pradeep and I think Adarsh. So if you write if you write your code in a very proper way and as per your scenario you write it, whether it's clickable, whether it's because of the visibility, because sometimes what happens, your element is visible but it's not clickable. Okay, so the way you are using your explicit wait is very important. Make sense? Now, Kavita, can you put your question in the chat window? It's very difficult. You have pinged me 10 to 15 chats. Can you just consolidate once and ping me? Anyone else is having any question? Pradeep, Pawan, Nagendra, Manish, Lahari, Krishna, Kalyani, Harshad. I can't call out everyone's name. Please put it in the chat window. You guys are here to get your queries resolved. So implicit wait will be declared once and explicit wait will be specific to element. Very correct. So implicit wait, you don't have to, that's the unique feature of Selenium. You don't have to run after the web element to handle the stability of it. It's better to declare it once, that's it. So it will take care when the things are not visible or properly loaded. But explicit wait can be, this is a specific scenario. That's the reason this PPT has been kept here, that you are hitting a web server, but it's take the data exchange time, what it took from, like it again hit the DB, it is getting the data and then pushing back to the main client from where the request came. It can be in any format, whether the data exchange is there, it is serialized, deserialized, and then it is calling your JavaScript and then the things are coming into picture. Fine. Okay, Manikandan, if we move from a parent window to child window, do we need to use implicit wait or explicit wait? Even if you see, even if you talk about multiple window, whether it is a parent window or a child window, or you have a child of a child window, let's call it as window 1, you clicked on something, new window came, window 2, you again clicked on something, new window came. So this implicit wait will work for all the three windows. It's for Selenium, it's actually one. So within one browser, you are opening multiple browsers. So it doesn't matter. The only thing what matters is you should switch to the proper window. That is not related to the topic right now what we are discussing, switching to a window, but just to clear your query, that the only concern what you will have in case of multiple window, you have to make sure that you are pointing to a current window. Okay, but as per your query, it should be applicable to all the three browsers. Why not Selenium is not coming up with some package to handle console based applications? Because Selenium core part, actually Selenium is not designed for IBM based or console based applications. Okay, there are many tools, like as of now there is no open source tool also I have found which is used for automating console based applications. But to answer your queries, there is a tool called Securely, which I was just few minutes before I was saying that you can use it, works on images, so it can easily handle your console based applications or IBM mainframe applications very easily, because what generally you do in a console, you just keep typing that things and select the value and do validations. Okay, so using securely you can easily handle console based applications. In case you are looking forward to automate mainframe applications, then you can go with IBM RFT 3270 emulator. Okay, Manikan, Krishna, Kavita, can you put your questions again in the chat window? Anyone else is having any question? Can we proceed? Larry? So Krishna, so generally we can have implicit weight, and if any specific element is not identified in the given item, then we can go with explicit weight. This you need to identify before only, Krishna. So this statement is correct. You need to go with implicit weight. So explicit weight is only for exceptional cases which I'm talking about, okay? And it should never be practiced. If you are going with explicit weight, it's better you get the things fixed, because you are trying to handle a scenario which is not behaving properly. So it's better to get it fixed in any way, whether you get this fixed by the developer or maybe some because of the UI application or the data what you are passing through the application is not in a proper way. So whatever the reason is, just get that fixed. But it should not be a practice. So this would be good practice to go with implicit weight always and explicit weight only is on specific elements. Correct. Sridhar says how to compare dynamic image comparison. Dynamic image comparison, can you just elaborate this question, because it can be answered in many ways. So what exactly is your use case? Sridhar, can you put it in a proper way? Nagendra says, does implicit weight apply for each element? Yes, by default. If so, when we have both implicit and explicit weight, which weight would be applicable for the element? See, when you have given both the elements, sorry, implicit weight and explicit weight. So explicit weight generally we give it for specific element only. So even if you have given implicit weight and again you are above on that you are giving explicit weight, what will happen? It will sum up both the weights and then do it. So first implicit weight will come into picture, and then after that explicit weight also will play a role. So it is like both the times get summed up. That's what the behavior I've noticed. Does implicit weight apply for each statement? Yes. Yes. Nagendra, I think I've answered your question. Sridhar says, I have taken screenshot, but my expected screenshot which I take running may change its background. So that's it's the, it depends on you how you're taking the screenshot. Better you go with snipping tool or any tool which gives you a better screenshot. So I think you have a problem with taking a screenshot, because whatever screenshot you take is not coming properly. You can take print screen and use paint if in case nothing works for you. Okay, so I think it was a good discussion. Let me proceed with the next topic. What we have for today is page object pattern. Okay, so all of you please come back. Okay, don't ping in the chat window. Now can you guys answer me? Please stop the questions. I'll give you the time again. We'll discuss after this discussion. Okay, how many of you heard about keyword driven, data driven, hybrid and page object pattern? Okay, so I'm giving a query. How many have heard about keyword? You can put in the chat window saying 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm giving the name keyword driven 1, data driven 2, hybrid 3 and page object pattern. Can you guys put in the chat window so that I'll understand what all the frameworks you guys know, and anyways I'll tell all the 4, but today we need to go with page object pattern. That's a simple one, but it's the concept that you guys need to understand. Okay, most of you people have heard about 1 and 2, 3. Okay, not 4. Fine, not a problem. Okay, Shrikant says first, third I heard, then he heard 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fine, not a problem. So what basically keyword driven framework is, I'll just give you an overview of it and then we'll get into the page object pattern. So keyword driven framework basically means like you're just giving an instruction to some tool. Like you have a robot, you say open door, it will open a door for you. You will say get me a glass of water. He'll understand what you're trying to say. He'll get a glass of water for you. You will say, can you clean the table please? He'll clean a table for you. So what you are doing, you are giving instructions, right? Same way, you can design a framework in such a way that when you say open browser, you will just use the word open browser, it will just open a browser for you. When you say close browser, it will close the browser for you. When you say verify XYZ value in this field, it will go and verify the value what you have given in the field what you have given. When I say in this field means you are giving a property of it. Okay, so let's see in this how we can put it in form of a script. So here I'm trying to say, see here I'm saying username, this is a value, and I want to, you will tell the tool, hey, this is a property and this is a value. So tool will say, what should I do with this? So you will again in one more instruction you will pass, I want you to enter this value. So you will give an action, enter text. So what all the keywords we saw in this line, can anyone tell me? I just told few things to the tool. So what the keyword you can find in these four? Can you guys ping me in the chat window? What's the keyword? Very correct. It's enter text. Okay. Property is not a keyword. It's just a way of representation. You have just created a template, and this is in this is what the tool understand. So if you say name equal to XYZ or ID equal to XYZ under a property column, it will always consider that this is a property, but it's not an action. Okay. It's not an instruction. It's not a keyword. It's just a property, and under value you have given some value, administrator, robot, or any dummy value. So tool will just understand this is just a value. What I have to do this, he again doesn't know. Then you need to use some keyword what your tool understands. You will say enter text. So it will go find the field. It will enter text with this value. Let's take one more example. This one. I gave this property and I gave the value. Tool doesn't know. It is a text box, it is a button, it is a text area, it has to enter a value, it has to verify, it doesn't know. So when you say select, it will get an idea, hey, I need to find an element, and in that I need to select this value. Fine. There are cases where you need to validate the things. So when you say this is the property, so again it will say what I should do with this property. So somewhere in the tool you have defined an action, verify object exists, verify contains, verify title, value, and it can be any more. It can be anything, whatever way you want to represent it. So that's how I have defined it, saying that verify this object and want to make sure that this should be present, true. I want to verify this field with this value, like I have given verify value, this value in this location. If you want to take a capture screenshot, it will take a screenshot. So that's what keyword driven framework is. We'll see a demo of this as well. In the end, we'll see. Okay, because first we need to understand page object pattern. Next comes data driven. So when I say data driven, that means what? I have okay, fine. Just answer me this question. I have this script. Okay, now I want to run with another set of data. Do I need to write the same script again? No, I should not write it, but if I'll go with this only keyword driven approach, do I need to write it? Like I just have this keyword driven approach, nothing else. Fine. So if we don't have a concept of data driven, then we can't go with it. But that's how I have thousands of scenarios. So I can't end up with changing this data 1,000 times. So it's better you define your data somewhere in a data, you can call it as data set, you can even call it as a repository, and here you can define your data. So it's just 5 lines, you can make it 5,000, 6,000, as many data you want. And you don't want to create the same script again and again. You just want to replace these fields with these values, and you just want to create it once and want to execute it that many means the total number of rows what you have it in your data set, that many times you want to execute it, re-execute it with different sets of data, in simple terms I can say. Make sense? Correct? Sonal, Adarsh, Nagendra, clear? See, I'm going with few people name because these people name I can see because they are asking the questions. So no one should think that okay, why you are taking these people exam names, because I got a ping in the chat window saying that why you're taking these people's name very frequently. The reason why, because these people are asking the questions. Even if you ask, I'll be clearing your queries and telling you back. Okay, Shraddha? Fine. So that's what the data set logic will come into picture. So if I'll combine these two scripts in one, now your script will look like this. So this is the script what I have here. It follows keyword driven approach. It follows keyword driven approach here as well. Okay, so this is just a small use case I'm talking about. Okay, now I don't want to hard code these values. I don't want to make it static. What I'll do, I'll put the things in curly braces, and wherever it will come across these curly braces, it will take the value within these braces and it will go to this data set and it will look for the column and it will get the value from the row, whichever row is active. So if I here I have 6 rows or 5 rows, if the fourth row of the while execution, if my fourth row is active, it will go to the specific column and get the corresponding value of it. Okay, and how the tool will understand that which script to run with which data set. So you can easily say that, hey, I want to execute. So can you tell me again, this keyword driven came into picture. Execute, again, it's a keyword. So your tool understands that when you say execute, it understands that it has to execute some script. Okay, so in your day-to-day like generally whatever you use in your day-to-day life, or the jargons what you use for the test cases, exactly same those jargons you can put it in your script so that the second person can understand what exactly you're talking about. Okay, you can say I want to execute with this data set, and if you want to execute only one script, you don't want to execute some other script, you don't need to say that I want to execute with this data set, I just want to execute the script. So here you can say it's a script name separated with colon and the that your repository or your data set name is coming. Fine. Priya says, could you please explain the keyword driven and data driven once again, like when it can be used? Okay, if it is in the scope of today's session, no it's not, but I'll cover it, not a problem. Is macro coming into picture in this Excel data keyword driven framework? No, macro is why macro will come into picture. But yes, it can be a scenario that you have written a macro which is hitting a DB locally, getting the prop data out. You have written again above on that you have written a macro to filter the data and put it in very properly in this fashion. Okay, so this is one way, Shrikant. The other way what you can do, you can write a simple Java code, Python code, or Ruby code, whichever code you're comfortable with. It's better to go with Java, it is widely accepted. You can write a simple Java code to hit a DB or some Excel sheet or whatever repository you have. Either it can be a distributed file system, Hadoop. You can get your data, your source can be anything. You just have to restructure it and put it in this fashion, or whatever fashion you want to design it. It's completely customized. Fine, Shrikant? So basically, Priya, in short, I'll just elaborate it. It's like keyword driven framework generally means what, as per your instructions, the tool should behave. So this is a very good example here I have. I'll share the script with you. Okay. So as per your instructions, the tool will perform the action. And when it comes to repetitive thing, like same thing, you need to do it again and again. Okay. So why we are doing learning automation? The reason why, because same job we are doing it again and again without any reason. Even if the functionality is running fine and the application is stable, you need to test your application on regular basis, and you can't test it many times. So when it comes to automation, you can test your use cases very frequently. So if I have this use case and I don't have automation, I need to test this only this 17 steps 100 times. If you will tell me to do it, I think it will take me to complete it around 3 to 4 hours, or I may end up doing some putting a wrong value as well. So human error, chances of doing human mistakes are very high. Make sense, Priya? Correct? And if I'll say in this fashion that I have put something in this fashion and want to execute through data set concept, I can easily do it. Saying that this is a script and I want to execute with this data. I can have 10,000 data, 20,000 data. I can run this script with 20,000, means 20, whatever count you want to have, by just saying that I want to execute this script with this data set. Make sense? Priya and to all? Shraddha? Awesome. And there is this is a concept of data driven. There is a concept for keyword driven. See here, you can see I have used keywords as well, and I have used data set concept. So if I'll combine these two, it's called hybrid framework. Okay, that's it. That's the definition of hybrid. Thanks, Shraddha, Larry, Priya. Thanks for confirming. Hybrid is basically means the combination of both. So what I'm doing here, I'm using keyword driven and data driven both. So that's the hybrid framework. Now that's it. That's the only definition of it. Okay. Next comes page object model. Page object model means what? So here you can see. Can anyone give me the definition of it? We have a huge audience, only 1 and 2. Why? You guys have just joined just to listen or to make the things interactive? Adarsh, Harish, Harshit, come on friends, Kalyani, Sonal, Rahul. What is page object model? Can you guys hear me loud and clear? Am I loud and clear? Yes, I'm loud and clear. Oh, for this your keyboard is working. But for the question, for answer, the keyboard is not working. Fine, not a problem. Code written for each page, somewhat correct, but not a good way to understand. It is a framework where we treat every page as object. Very good, Pavan. So that's the exact definition of page object model. It's a framework where we treat every page as object. Okay, the reason why every page is object, that's the way of understanding. Actually, it's not. Actually, every page is not an object, but that's how we need to understand. The reason why I created this script, okay, and I have put some value here. Now I want to create one more script. Again, I repeated the property. Like this way, I'll be defining many properties, and in the end, I created 10 to 20 scripts. Okay, here also I have written the same properties. So after writing 20 properties, I observed I am writing the same property again and again in different tabs. Correct? Can you guys confirm me? This is correct. This statement is correct. Makes sense? Okay, I'm writing it. Now tell me, if one property gets changed, don't you think so lots of rework is there? Even if one property gets changed, the complete all your 20 scripts needs a rework. So that's not the correct way to do it, right? Kalyani, I need confirmation from everyone. Again, I'll repeat because very few people are replying. I know it's a huge audience. Not sure how many people of you are very actively listening. Okay. Yes, very good. I've got around 20 to 25 reply. That's awesome. Yes, lots of rework will be there. Then what to do? Who is going to save us? Page object model framework. So it's not a very big concept. It's not a very big implementation. It's just a concept that you need to follow to overcome this scenario. What this says, it says that this is one use case I'm talking about. Okay, I have one more scenario for this. What you need to do in your application, you might have 30 pages, 40 pages, okay? Each page will have 100 web elements, 200 web elements, or 50 web elements, or 20 web elements, depends upon the UI design. So if for each page, what I'll do, I'll try to put it like home page, all the home page web elements property I'll put here. Now I have a password page. I'll put the password page, all the properties here. For policy page, I'll put all the properties here. Like this way, more pages will come into picture. Now, how the tool will come to know which page it has to go. Okay, please listen to me very carefully how the tool will come to know which page it has to go. Okay, I have launched this application. Let's assume this is my page. Okay, one second, I need to close this actually. Oh, what happened? I'm just moving my chat window down so that I can see my complete page clearly. Yeah. Okay. So this is one page. I'll call it as home. I'll call it as home. So anything which comes, always remember, means you guys have also noticed it, anything which comes between this slash is the page ID. Here I don't have a page ID, so I can call it as a default page. So if I don't get anything between this, it's not a it's just a default page. But if I'll click on forget your password, you can see the page ID is identity. Okay. If I'll click on cancel, I can see the page ID is login.php. This is my page, right? If I'll go to Facebook Lite, the page ID is Lite, the last value. If I'll go to games, so this is here my implicit weight will come into picture. It's taking time to load. Anyways, automatically Selenium take care of this, but it's better to put it. It's taking time. I'll say create page. So here my page ID is create. So this, in short, the other way I can say the URL gets changed. So each page has its unique URL. That is correct. Each page has its own unique URL. If I'll come here for this page, the page ID is this. If I'll click on this, the page ID, nothing is coming. That means it's a default page. If I'll click on downloads, the page ID is download. So you can get every page has a unique ID associated with it. If I'll click on support or if I'll click on about, so this will keep on changing. In this actually helps me in segregating the properties. That's what uh, someone pinged me, right? So that's how we call it as page object model. So for each page, we'll create a separate tab. How to find which tab we are talking about? So here I'll create a tab called about. So if I'll click here and let's click on projects. So I'll create one page called project. Sorry, one tab called project. I'll create one tab called downloads. All the download properties will be in that tab. I'll click on docs. All the docs related properties will be in that tab. How to get support? All the support related will be in that tab. So let me minimize this. So in this way, I can create more tabs and I'll call it as download and I'll put all the properties here. Means let me copy this. And I'll tell you the format of this, how when I say page object model, how the tool will understand this template. So let me explain you this template format. So when you say username, password, login, so in your script, you gave a name called username, right? So what will happen? It will take this name, then it will get the URL of the application. Please listen me very carefully. It will take this name and it will go to the page and get the URL. From there, it will get the page ID. Okay, how to get it? It's very easy. In code, if I'll show you, you can easily say that This was the code we were running, right? So I'll just correct it. I'll try to print here. I'll say driver dot get current URL. That's it. So it will give you the URL. You can easily write a simple 2 line of code to get the URL ID. Means it's a slash oriented, right? So you can write a string tokenizer to break the data. Means get the last ID of it. If you want, I can write it string. There is a class called string tokenizer. Okay. So what this does, the string tokenizer class allows an application to break a string into tokens. So you can break your actually URL by slash and get the last value of it. Or if the last value has 1 second. If the last value is blank or it is a question mark, don't take, just take the previous one. Fine. Okay, so there are many ways to do it. Okay, that's a secondary thing. The only concern what we have is you need to get the URL. I can get the URL. Now whatever you want to do, you can do with it. You can use string tokenizer. You can write a plain Java code to break your data. You can split with slash. Whatever you want to do, you can do. Okay. Now let me show you an example. It will be easy for you to understand, I think. So I'll say string URL and I'll give the value. Okay, so from here I'll get the URL, and what I'll do, I'll use a plain Java code. I'll just say that I want to split sorry for the typo. So it should be string, yeah. And here I'll say URL dot, I want to split with what? I want to split with slash. Let me run this code. Okay, so it will split, and actually I need to get it in some value. So page URL underscore split I can put. Okay, and it should be an array because it will split it into multiple parts, because each complete string will get split into multiple values. It will be wherever it will find the slash, it will just break it up. One second. Get URL. It has not printed the URL, so I need to get the URL to see what is the URL, and then we'll try to split it. It has given this value. Okay, so slash, I think it should work. I think slash already means backslash. So one slash in Java means backslash. So I think it won't print it. So I need to put two more slashes here. Even there is a class called URL which will give you the page ID by just saying that, hey, you just parse this value, and after parsing it you give me the value of it. Okay, it's not coming. Let's try with string tokenizer. Okay, I've written, fine. It will say that do you have any token, because it will break, then only it can, uh, if it has a token it will go inside this, or else it won't. If this won't return anything, then you can go with next element actually. URL, that's the best way to proceed. So it will just parse your complete URL and it will give you the page ID. It just gave, it has printed double slash, okay. So it has splitted the value, next token. Let me print this once again. I'll split with semicolon now. Okay, it's just gave one value. Fine. Mm, no. I need to pass the URL and tell with what I need to split. I didn't pass the URL here. I need to tell this is the value and I want to split with colon. So it gave me HTTPS and Facebook, right? Now I'll try to split with double slash. I didn't pass this value, but that's the reason it was coming blank. But I won't suggest you to go with, see, I'm getting facebook.com, so then this way I'm getting the value. I didn't get any value after this, right? Because there was no value. Clear? Does string tokenizer take URL by default, or URL should be passed? I think I should have saw your ping before. You need to pass this Nagendra. Okay. I was not passing this value. That's the reason it was giving blank value. So this is not the only way I was trying to do with the split. You can do whatever. There are multiple ways to break a data. Okay. The only here what you need to understand is that how to use page object model. So what you will do, you will get the page ID. Okay. So this was your script. This was your script. Username, you gave some value. Okay, that's it. Don't give these two properties here. Leave it. You just say username and the value. When you give username, the tool automatically will find the page ID, which will be here. This is my page ID. Okay, support. Then it will go to the other sheet where you have defined the properties. It will look for the tab name where the download, let's assume download is there. Then in this tab, it will look for the object attributes, and corresponding to that, it will get the property and action. Now, if I'll go in this fashion, whenever I'll cross that download page, I don't have to define the property again and again. I just have written it once. Even in after 2 months, 6 months, you don't have to change the property. If there is a change in the property, you just have to go to one place and change it. That's it. Okay, and it will be reflected across all your scripts. You don't have to move around to all the scripts and get the things fixed. Fine. Can I get a quick confirmation for this explanation? Anyone is having any doubt? If you have any doubt, please ping me in the chat window. And this is what I showed you, the framework, right? This is the framework we have here. So let you guys can put the questions in the chat window. By that time, what I'll do, I'll put one script, the keyword driven, data driven hybrid framework together to show you like how exactly things are working. So why it is in red color? Because this is the script with few mistakes and errors are there. So we are going to check end to end everything, like how the elements it is finding. We'll see, means how the tool is finding the element. We'll see how implicit weight is playing a role, because I have written the code once. I'm not, this is a script, I'm not writing a code. So code, one time effort you have done. You've just written a code or designed a framework. Now after that, you're not writing anything. You're just creating the script and the giving the instructions, and tool is just following it. Then we'll see how data set is coming into picture. Okay. So I'll just come here. This is the project I have created for the framework, Selenium WebDriver. No, not this one. Execute test. This is the framework. Okay. So it has all the classes which does. So that's it. It's a small framework which does everything. The reason why it is small, because the code has been written as per the use case. Like all the browser related classes are in browser, or the Firefox related classes are in Firefox. All the timestamp related everything we have, for screenshot we have everything. Okay, so let me run this code and we'll see how it's running. It's almost done. Okay, to be very frank, generally we say the session is for 1 hour, but it goes till 1.5 hours. So those of you who want to, it's getting late, you guys can leave, because if you'll go in the demo it will take time. So here you can see it has in the backend, I've just put the things on execution. Now here you can see in the console, and even it is it supports unattended execution. Like you can put the scripts on execution, lock your system and go. You will get an auto generated reports and mails. You can easily get, once the execution gets completed, you'll get a report will be generated, and if you want to notify it that the execution has been done, you can drop a mail through the framework as well. Okay, so things what you can see it in red is like unable to find the password with this property. So it is reporting it properly in red color, and those steps which it is performing, it is going fine. Then it says value not found for February, because in drop down there is no value with the name February. Then it says unable to find day with this ID because the ID was wrong. And here you can see the execution is happening, means where it is here. So it is still running in the backend. Fine. So that's what the page model keyword driven, it will be keep running. I'll go back to the PPT. And one more use case, this was in terms of framework, right? Now if I'll talk in terms of code, like how to define it. So what you need to do, you can categorize your classes. So I have a master class. Okay, so I've just told him, so to launch an application, I have a separate class called launch. All the home related script, I have kept it in separate class. All the password related script, I have kept it in password class. The reason why I have segregated the scripts, because if there is a change in the password class, you don't have, if you try to put everything in one place like this, okay, and you have keep adding the code here, if there is a change, you don't, you you might end up with doing mistakes, or you won't be able to complete all the change. So it's better to have a segregated means module wise script, page wise script, so that is there in if even if there is a change in the application, you can easily go to the class and do the changes. Okay, so you don't have to make the change and all, and it's very easy to handle. So these are the companies which are using means very rigorously they are using Selenium to like very frequently they are keeping the things on execution, and they have used dedicated pipelines also. If you guys have heard about Jenkins, through that also you can schedule your jobs and run Selenium continuously back to back, means your scripts. Okay, so that's what we saw in a generalized test cases, like how you can write it so that you can reuse it. Okay. Fine, that's all for today. So that I started with saying that already expecting that many of the things are knowing, because these are the very advanced topics that we have discussed today. So fine. Anyone is having any question? You guys can put me in the chat window. Krishna says after tokenizing, array will have more than one element. How exactly ID which we have will be taken and control? You need to go to the last element, Krishna. So if you tokenize any data or if you split any data, so what's our end goal? Our end goal is to find the last element. Why I'm finding the last element or a unique value? So that I can go to the next test Excel sheet where my tab is defined. Fine. And I can easily identify it. In that tab, I look for this field. Once I'll reach to this tab, I'll start looking in this column where my field is. Wherever I'll find, I'll look the corresponding property and value. That's it. Would there be any session again on Jenkins integration, ENT and Maven? That's not Selenium, friend. Jenkins integration is a separate thing that is used for deployment and for scheduling jobs, for creating pipelines. That is totally and altogether a different tool. ENT and Maven is a way of implementing, designing your framework. Okay, Nagendra. So either you go with plain IDE Selenium code, either you design with Maven. It's good to design with Maven, I'll always suggest, because you don't have always have to mess up with your APIs or jars. Could you please tell us about XPath now? Fine, that's a very easy thing. So what happens when you come here, we'll take the same example. I'll try to update it. I think I just messed it out. So let's go to one same application, and I was trying to find it. Even to handle dynamic scenarios, we can use XPath. So to give you a demo, you can come open the object inspector and right click on it. You will get an option called XPath. Okay. Actually, there are many things to talk about. It's a very short duration we have. If we talk about XPath, it's going to take 3 to 4 hours of session. Okay, so just to show you how XPath is behaving, you can right click and say copy XPath. Just come here, and this was the email ID I think I took for this. So means this was a field for which I have taken the XPath. So what I'll do, I'll just find it once again. So I'll say driver dot find element by XPath, and I'll just put this expression here. So this is called absolute XPath, which is a bad way to code it. But right now you should actually not go with absolute XPath. You should always go with relative XPath. But that's fine for us to understand how exactly it is working right now. So I've just given it, and after this, I'll just take it in an element, and I'll just say that I want to send some data here, and what I'll say, I found using XPath. I'll enter this value. Okay, then I'll wait for few seconds because it is too fast. I won't be able to show you what is going around. So I'll wait for 10 seconds so that we can at least see and discuss what happened. Correct. Let me run this code. See, I found using experts. It has appended the data, means already edureka.co was there and it has appended it. So you should always clear the field and then handle means enter the value. So that is again a new use case. Before you enter anything in the field, because there are many options actually. It's not the end. It's just 5% or 10% of Selenium what we're talking. But this is just one few important points we have discussed today. Okay. Shraddha, thanks. It was a wonderful webinar. It will be very helpful. Thanks, Shraddha. Does implicit really wait for an element to be visible if timeout is mentioned as timeout unit day? No, no. See, if you give day, it will wait for a day. So never do that. You have to forcefully stop it. Stop it, Nagendra. Krishna says, thank you so much. How good is to use the tokens from the URL? See, token is just a one way I gave you. Don't go with tokens. You go with URL. So you can check how URL can be split using URL class of Java. Okay, that's the best way because that class will parse your URL completely and you just have to say, hey, you give me the ID of this page, it will give you directly. So you don't have to tokenize it. The API itself will tokenize or parse it or tokenize it. You just have to ask for the page ID. Fine, Pavan? So when we save our password in browser, this is what happens. Yes. Thanks for great kickoff on Selenium WebDriver, Sushobit. Thanks. Okay. Anyone else is having any question? I think we have almost half an hour more I've taken, but that's fine. It's the important thing is that the takeaway of the course should be that the 4 points what we have discussed today, how to find the elements with all means the best way how you should proceed, which unique elements you should take. Then we saw implicit, explicit wait, then page model concept and XPath. I think there are it was more than 4 points actually. Ajax based dynamic handling dynamic applications, locating web elements. Fine. Okay, that's all for today, friends. Okay, you will get a. Could you please share the recordings with us? Definitely, you will get the recordings for this session. It is a very good. It is a very good session. Attending Edureka sessions for the first time, good experience. Would surely be back for next session. Thank you. So thanks all. Thank you all for asking interact means asking genuinely good questions. Okay. Uh, that's all for today. Okay. So once the session will end, you will get a feedback link. Please fill that feedback link because it helps us to understand what exactly uh, you are expecting it from the course. Okay. And how is the session? Okay. Bye bye friends. You'll get the recordings in the PPT within 24 hours. Okay. It gets auto uploaded on the portal and it means on your it will automatically get redirected to your APIs sorry on your Gmail once it gets uploaded. Thanks Adarsh, thanks Nagendra, bye Shraddha. Okay friends, bye bye.